To quote King Charles, oh dear, Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, today hammered the final nails into the coffin of Liz Truss's political career. Trussonomics, a bold plan to reboot Britain into being a low-tax, high-growth economy and a global hub for investment and talent, is no more. It's gone the way of the Sinclair C5, the video cassette recorder and stone-washed jeans. Jeremy Hunt's been cast by some as the chief executive of this government to Liz Truss's chairman. Welcome to hell. Here he is today announcing yet more U-turns.
The government has today decided to make further changes to the mini-budget. Firstly, we will reverse almost all the tax measures announced in the growth plan 3 weeks ago that have not started parliamentary legislation. We will no longer be proceeding with the cuts to dividend tax rates, the reversal of off-payroll working reforms introduced in 2017 and 2021, the new VAT-free shopping scheme for non-UK visitors, or the freeze on alcohol duty rates. I've decided that the basic rate of income tax will remain at 20%, and it will do so indefinitely until economic circumstances allow for it to be cut.
Top rate tax cut gone. Corporation tax cut gone. Income tax cut gone. 2 years of energy support gone. And it's just a matter of days, if not hours, before Liz Truss is gone too. This is now damage limitation for the economy and for the country, which is why last night on this channel I called for Liz Truss to act in the national interest and go. But to be fair, she's already sacked herself with the appointment of Jeremy Hunt, a zero-COVID, lockdown-loving, eco-obsessed Remainer whose economic approach is diametrically opposed to everything she stands for. It's not if now, but when. Truss is toast. It's turning into a comedy sketch. She's a dead parrot. She is no more. She has ceased to be. She's an ex-Prime Minister. She has shuffled off this mortal coil to meet her maker, Sir Graham Brady. So, where do we go from here? Well, the country faces a simple choice. Liz Truss stays, and we definitely get Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Liz Truss goes, and we probably get Prime Minister Starmer, the latter being the lesser of two evils. Don't forget, even with a colossal lead like this, Keir Starmer is such an uncharismatic and underwhelming candidate. It's my view he will fail to achieve an overall majority in the House of Commons, with Labour most likely the biggest party in a hung parliament. So what would that mean? Well, it would be a woke, virtue-signalling premier who can't define a woman leading a left-wing Britain-hating coalition from hell, propped up by votes from the SNP, which means Indy Ref 2 and the possible breakup of the union, and the Lib Dems, which means proportional representation, which is hung parliaments forever, and the support of a rump of hard-left Corbynites from his own party, who will push the country further into the red. It's in the Tory party's interest to get a new leader. That's clear. They can't win a raffle with Liz Truss, let alone an election. But it's in the national interest too. No one has successfully explained to me how a Labour government reliant on the votes of figures like John McDonnell, Diane Abbott and Richard Bergen is going to reassure the financial markets. A Labour government in the pocket of the unions, which will be obliged to hand out inflation-busting pay rises and which has promised money for everything, schools, policing, the NHS and beyond, will break the bank, not save it. The country is broke. We should be spending less money in the years ahead, not more, as I pointed out in my Daily Dispatch last week. The elephant in the room is that Britain lives beyond its means. On what planet is a high-spending Labour Party, torn apart by its own internal factions and an ongoing ideological civil war, good news for either our politics or our economy? Even today, Starmer out was trending on Twitter. You couldn't make it up. The Tories aren't exactly the Swiss Family Robinson, I'll grant you that. But do you really want this rabble in charge? The Tories must set aside their squabbles and unite around one figure whose task is not to be loved by the party, not to satisfy the intellectual needs of either libertarian Brexiteers on the right or One Nation Tory Remainers on the left. The new leader's task is to win the next election and keep Keir Starmer out of office. Beyond that, who cares? Because any number of names floating around as a possible replacement for Truss offer the Tories only the fool's gold of an ideologically perfect leader in opposition. Fat lot of use that is. Far better to do what New Labour did in the 90s when they chose Tony Blair. Most of the Labour movement couldn't stand him, but he kept them in power for over a decade. The Tories are on life support. The right are getting their last rites. But there are some signs of life. So, some very tough medicine and a political amputation may save the patient. Right now, they haven't got a leg to stand on.